All right, so we have made it to episode 3 after almost 50 minutes. Let's keep it going. Right, so my notes here for the episode 3 in Obsidian, shout out to Obsidian, are very extensive. The notes I had for episode 1 and 2 are not, both combined, are still smaller than the notes I had for episode 3. So let's kick right into it after I get a little sip of water here. So I wanted to start off episode 3. I've already mentioned it multiple times. I won't go into it in as big of detail as I did before, but the culture war on both sides has continued to grow with each episode that has released, and I expect it to continue to grow. There's also been an interesting development where people who might have been ashamed to state that they enjoyed The Last of Us Part 2, the video game, as a result of the previous culture war when the game came out, because the culture war has shifted to the TV show and hating on the TV show, are now beginning to say that The Last of Us Part 2, the video game, is actually very good. So I just find that funny how people are afraid to state their opinions for whatever reason. They go along with what other people online are saying, what the headlines are saying, what the anti-fan communities are saying. And since the attention of the anti-fan communities has moved and migrated to the TV show, and Bella Ramsey is now taking the brunt of a lot of that, the criticism of the game is beginning to lighten up. So I have here a tweet here. I don't remember what it is. So we're going to take a look at it live. We had a bunch of people from that anti-woke, for the remainder of this, I'll call them the ultra progressive community, criticizing some of the changes that were made to the story in force, beginning with episode 3. And I believe they're going to continue to try and do this for the remaining of the season. Like I said, this stems from a feeling that HBO is bending the knee to the anti-woke crowd's frivolous criticisms of the video game by moving things around, having the appearance of the actresses not match the appearance of the video game characters, and so on and so forth. So the criticism this person says is, so the porch scene never happened, or is she lying so that she can leave faster? I'm so confused. This is in reference to the scene in the TV show, episode 3, where Ellie goes to therapy. And Ellie lies very obviously. Sometimes I question my autism diagnosis because some of you guys really don't pick up on social cues that I pick up on. So I think my psychologist might have been off with me, but correct for you guys, because Ellie is clearly lying during the scene. She's clearly covering up her emotions, trying to play it off like this is not affecting her as deeply as it is affecting her. Anyone who has ever been depressed knows and understands and instantly recognizes what Ellie is doing in this scene. But on Twitter, for some reason, media literacy is completely dead. It's completely dead. And people think her saying that she didn't talk to Joel means that she literally didn't talk to Joel, even though Bella Ramsey is clearly portraying the persona of a person who is keeping things bottled up and is lying. So I think that Ellie going to therapy is blatantly being misinterpreted by a certain segment of the online fan base of The Last of Us, by people, I believe, who did not play the game, but know what they know about the characters through fan fiction and fandom. And we all know that fan fiction and fandom accentuate and exaggerate aspects of characters and downplay other aspects of characters. And if that's your only exposure to a character is from fandom, your perception of them will be warped. Another person on Twitter also said, why is there a therapist at all in The Last of Us Season 2? There was no therapy in the video game. This is a new addition for the TV show. I have no idea I don't understand that criticism either. I think the therapy sessions in the TV show have added something to the story and not taken it away. One of the criticisms of the video game was people not fully understanding why characters were behaving the way that they were behaving. They were not able to pick up on that from what they could glean from the narrative and from playing as the characters. So I think these therapy sessions were added as a way to make certain things more obvious. In my opinion, they did it elegantly. It makes sense that there's a therapist among them in the civilization. The zombie outbreak wasn't 1,000 years ago. It was literally like a generation ago. So there's still people alive who have the education they had before the zombie outbreak. There's a therapist among them. And she offers what she can to the colony. What she has to offer is her therapist expertise. That's important. If you've played games like Dwarf Fortress, you know that maintaining a proper psychological state among the members of your colony is important. So therapists would still be important during a zombie apocalypse. They still serve a purpose. It doesn't seem out of place to me at all. I like the trauma focus that they're going for in season 2. A huge part of this story, the only part of the story, is trauma. The response that people are having to trauma. Abby and Ellie are trapped in a blood feud. Abby wanting to kill Ellie's father because Ellie's father killed her father. And throughout the game, Ellie abandons Jackson. She abandons Dina. She abandons everything for this bloodthirst that she has for Abby, destroying her life and all of her relationships in the process, and also having destroyed her relationship with Joel before he died as well. It all weighs down on Ellie, and it's a huge part of her inability to. A huge part of the story is Ellie's inability to let go of her anger and resentment. She resented Joel for 7 years or so. I think 7 years or 5, maybe 5. Because of what he did for saving her life, for not allowing her to be the one who was the body who helped discover the cure for this fungal infection that turns people into zombies. In her eyes, he made her life pointless and useless. She has this immunity, yet she's not able to help humanity with it. She just kind of has it. And she's forced to live a life where the people around her can get infected and turn into zombies and die, and she can't because of Joel. In the end of the video game, it all comes full circle after she has chased Abby down for the entirety of the video game, killing hundreds of people. She finds Abby in a very destitute state, skin and bones, holding a younger child that Abby comes to be an almost older sister type of figure towards and care for. Ellie finds her in that destitute state, fights her while they're both in that destitute state. And Ellie kind of brutalizes Abby in a way that is very disgusting, disturbing, and uncomfortable to watch and painful to play. And at the end, she realizes the futility of her actions for the purposes of taking all of her pain and resentment towards what has happened in her life away, and she lets Abby go. So sorry if I just spoiled the ending of season 3 of The Last of Us. But yeah, I can't take it back, and I'm not editing that out of the video. I'm too lazy. So aside from that, that's why I think the therapy sessions are very good. This story is a story about trauma, blood feuds, grievances, vengeance, and eventually moving on and forgiveness. So I think these therapy sessions will pay off dividends in the end. The people who are complaining about them, I genuinely think they did not play the game. I think they only know The Last of Us from fanfiction, fandom, and cutscenes. And because of that, they're not able to appreciate that the cutscenes are only like a fourth of the total gameplay time. The actual act of The Last of Us is a game where you walk. You walk from place to place, slowly going through different scenes and scenarios, talking to different people, experiencing the environment around you, reading journals, listening to tapes, and so on and so forth. That is, a lot of it is not going to be present in the cutscenes. The cutscenes are the things that transition you between gameplay sections. And the gameplay sections are a part of the narrative. They're not just filler. They're a part of the narrative. So a lot of people who didn't play the game, who only watch cutscenes, are missing very critical. They're missing perspective, I believe, on how the story will eventually come across in the end as you experience it slowly through 2 seasons throughout. I chose this scene here because Bella Ramsey's face transition as she's walking out of therapy is so nice. She is so clean with it. She is a phenomenal actress for this role. I also had concerns about her physical appearance compared to Ellie in the show simply because she was just so much smaller than Abby. I felt like if Abby punches her one time, she'll get knocked out. But that has nothing to do with her merit as an actress in this role. This is such a good character building scene of her walking out, her head a little bit high, a moderate, forced and fake, slightly visible smile on her face as she tries to portray being unbothered. And as she's walking down the hall, that smile slowly fades away and the cinematography becomes darker and darker. This shows her mental state in comparison to what she portrayed to the therapist. I think it was very obvious. I don't know why people didn't pick up on that. Some people on Twitter. Ellie, let's see here. I have a note here for Dina, but we're not at Dina yet, so I'll just say this. Ellie's thirst for finding the killers of Joel is being portrayed very well. She reminds me of Arya a little bit from Game of Thrones. Her arguments for going against the WLF are sound. We really empathize with her that she wants to bring the people who killed Joel to justice. And we also understand the counter arguments to her very sudden, expedition to go and find them later on in the episode when we get to the council scene. So I'm liking Ellie so far. Bella Ramsey, although she doesn't look physically like Ellie, she embodies Ellie's personality in its entirety. To the T, she embodies Ellie. The criticisms against her, I think, are not based on merit in acting. They are based purely on visuals, which is the kind of criticism that I think, again, comes from people who did not engage with the video game as a story. They engaged with it as a political piece. Right. So that's Therapy and Ellie down. Next up is Dina. Like I said earlier, Dina was, to me, a very cringy character in the game. I felt she didn't have chemistry with Ellie. We didn't really know much about her in the game. She seemed like a standard plot device, the very stereotypical love interest who serves as a point of contention and conflict for the main character. Dina overall was kind of a nuisance to me in the video game. Narratively, I didn't really care much for her. The TV show has completely fixed all of those issues I've had with Dina. She seems like an actual human being. She seems very similar to Ellie in terms of her age and the way that it causes her to act. Again, they have this childish yet mature quality about them because they are children being forced to have grown up during the zombie apocalypse. So in short, She doesn't seem like a plot device anymore and a pure love interest. She seems like a real human being. She's humorous, in my opinion. I find Dina to be kind of cool, to be honest. And yeah, I'm liking Dina a lot and the changes she made to her. I think this is going to make the things that happen in season 3 much, much more compelling. The Seraphites. The Seraphites are a faction, a cult-like faction in the video game, which we were first exposed to during, I believe, one of the first trailers for The Last of Us Part 2, where we see Abby having been captured by the Seraphites and escaping. They're a cult-like religious fanatical group that exists within the world of The Last of Us. There are many of them. This is just one of them. They are an antagonist in the game, which you have to fight whenever you play as Abby. They were introduced in episode 3 as well. I liked being able to see more of them. I believe we're going to have more backstory for them in the show, which I love. A lot of this information is information that was garnered through you experiencing the world of the video game slowly, playing through the game again, but because it's a TV show, they really get to pick and choose what you focus on. So having them focus on the Seraphites here, I think, was another good change. I would love for the world of The Last of Us to be very well explored in the TV show, and to not just, hammer through the story as some people did when they played the original game. I don't quite remember what the Seraphites like in the larger world. What are they a part of for the larger world? I only knew them as an antagonist for the main characters in the game. So seeing more of that is lovely. I love that we're getting more story for them. The council meeting. I had a note here that I think it was Jesse who said no one's going to vote for angry when he was talking to Ellie before they went to the council meeting. I paused the show at that point. I was like, people do kind of vote for angry all the time. So when I heard that, I laughed. The TV show also laughed a bit at itself because, through the council meeting, we see kind of both sides, the compelling arguments within both sides. I thought that the council meeting was a little bit cringy at times, especially with that peacemaker kumbaya guy. He made some good points, but it was just kind of cringy. Ellie's plan, she's a child. She's a kid, right? Her plan makes no strategic or practical sense at all. Jackson was just ravaged by zombies. A bunch of people died, not just Joel. Now, in the time where everyone in the town needs to be hands on deck, repairing the wall, repairing food sources, agriculture, replacing people who have been lost and the valuable positions that they hold within society, making sure things are going well, making sure there's not going to be a famine, making sure there's not gaps in their security. These are all things they need to focus on. And Ellie wants to send 16 of the best fighters with her to go find the killers of Joel, of one individual, when many other people also died. It doesn't make any practical or strategic sense, but it does make emotional sense. The homophobic guy gets another scene in here that was not present in the video game, where he is on Ellie's side for the purposes of sending a patrol out to find the killers of Joel and kill them, execute them themselves. Some people didn't like the council scenes and the therapy scenes because they felt like the show was focusing too much on the humanity of the Jackson residents, as opposed to making them seem like a dystopian, aggressive type of tribal society. I don't agree with that criticism either. I think this is a good thing. In a post-apocalyptic world, not everyone is going to turn into a Seraphite and just become like a fanatic wanderer, right? We're social creatures. We're going to form civilizations, and we're going to form morals. We're going to form virtues and rules and socially agreed upon agreements. And there are going to be people who are peacemakers. There is going to be an appetite for a judiciary, a council, for hearings, and debate. Those things are part of humanity. They're not things that just come about randomly in the future, in modern times. They're things that have always been a part of the human appetite. So I don't think there's a problem with that at all. There's always going to be people among us who are peacemakers, and there's always going to be people among us who are warriors, who set out to be more violent and take things with a more direct, hands-on approach. Some people were also upset because the homophobic guy was... So let's just go into the next segment here with the homophobic guy. Some people were upset because he was on Ellie's side regarding vengeance for Joel, and that he assisted Ellie by giving her a better rifle before her and Dina headed out. So my question for these people is, why? From what I could see, the main issue was that this guy did not have any more scenes in the game after that steak sandwich thing that he made for Ellie, the bigot sandwich scene that I showed you earlier. And so he was a figure that was kind of universally hated from the video game. The anti-woke crowd loved him. They called him based. The anti-woke crowd hated him. And they liked that the video game also expressed kind of some hatred for him as well. Now, in the TV show, we have a scene of him being homophobic. Then we have a scene of him apologizing. Then we have a scene of him, a new edition scene of him siding with Ellie in the council meeting. And then we have a new scene of him giving Ellie a better rifle. To the people who are angry at this, I say, I understand the political happenings that are happening outside of the show, but in terms of just the show itself, I think it's good writing and not lazy writing, as some are suggesting. That, especially in a story like The Last of Us, a story about seeing things from different perspectives, not in terms of homophobia or whatever, but understanding why people act the way that they act, that people are multifaceted, people have different life experiences, and so on and so forth. I think it's not a bad thing to show that a person can be immoral or bad or disagreeable to you in one aspect, yet aligned with you or useful in another aspect. Just because this guy is homophobic in the game does not mean that he has to be literally sabotaging and doing wrong by Ellie all the time. This is a post-apocalyptic world. They only have a few people. They don't have the amount of people that would be required to live in a society where anyone who disagreed with you politically, who was homophobic or racist or sexist, was also bad in every single other way. He has to have some value in some way to this civilization that they have here in Jackson. So I think it was interesting to show that, this bigoted individual also ended up being able to apologize and being one of the voices on the side of Ellie and giving her a handshake, really settling the score with them, having this be one of the few instances in the story where Ellie, the relationship between Ellie and another person didn't end in complete flames and destruction. I think I like the way Ellie interacts with him. She's not fawning over him like, oh, you're so great. I forgive you now. She's like, okay, handshake, nod, and then they head off. No other words need to be spoken there. In the game, he tried to apologize, and he seemed genuinely embarrassed by his actions at the dinner. So him being remorseful is not a new addition to the story. This is just another scene of him expressing that remorse. So the Gamergate crowd is pissed off because they feel that he's not as homophobic as he used to be. And the anti-Gamergate crowd is maliciously assuming political motives and bending of knees to political crowds online by having this guy be less homophobic somehow. I disagree with that entirely. I think it was a fine change. It would have been okay if they didn't do it, but they did do it, and thought it was okay. I liked it. I liked the nod, the handshake, and the move on. I like that. The last controversy of episode 3 also comes from the crowd, or the anti-Gamergate crowd. I know I'm hounding on them today, but hey, I track this stuff. I see it happening. I have to talk about it. They were upset with some of the changes made to Dina and Ellie's relationship. And this is why I showed you the tweet from Grace Randolph earlier, where she says that she watched the cutscenes and that Abby was not coming across as she did in the cutscenes. I put that there not specifically because of Grace Randolph, but because I thought it was a summation of where I feel a lot of these controversies and misinterpretations of the story and the characters and what they represent are coming from. So Dina and Ellie are in a tent and they're discussing. It's kind of awkward. It's kind of cute. These two people like each other. They have crushes on each other, but Dina's trying to pretend like, she's not that into Ellie. Ellie's trying to pretend like she's not, chasing after Dina. So it's kind of like that. And there were some people on social media who took great offense to this. We have just one tweet here with someone who says, Game Dina was confident in how she felt towards Ellie, never questioning her sexuality. Here's one example from the early game in which Dina is softer and kinder than what we saw tonight. I'm struggling to see the same development of feelings. Super bummed. And that's in response to another tweet that says, Dina saying she's not gay, just curious, and then continuing to perpetuate her straight relationship with Jesse is quite literally like an atom bomb going off in my house. The writers are effing up big time. Now, if you play the game, you know that Dina is not gay, first of all. Ellie is gay. We learned that in the first game as a result of a DLC that came out after the game was released. Last of Us Left Behind, we saw that in season 1 with her relationship with, I think her name was Riley. In The Last of Us Part 2, Dina is not gay. She was literally in a relationship with Jesse before she got into a relationship with Ellie. She's bisexual. So this is not a new change, first of all. However, if you didn't play the game and your engagement with The Last of Us Part 2 comes primarily and is weighted toward fan fiction and fandom and shipping, you very well might have thought for the past few years that Dina is 100% gay. But she's not. She's a bisexual. And this is important because in the future, Ellie goes on a journey to find Abby, and she abandons and burns her relationship with Dina because of it. Dina wants to find the killers of Joel, but not at the cost of everything like Ellie does. And Ellie abandons the relationship and chooses the vengeance she wants against Abby over Dina and the life that Dina wants with Ellie. Dina leaves her. Dina becomes pregnant with a man's child while Ellie is out and chasing after Abby. And eventually Dina leaves her and Ellie is all alone at the end of the second video game. So this relationship between Ellie and Dina, with Dina being someone who is also attracted to men, is an important part of the story. Dina gets pregnant and she has a baby while Ellie is gone. So that is a major part of the game. So I'm not sure why people are saying that they are concerned with Dina saying she's not gay in the TV show. She's literally not gay in the game. So I don't know where that's coming from. Well, I do know where that's coming from. I just think where it's coming from is illegitimate. It's not canon. People are heavily engaged in fandom. They're heavily engaged in shipping. And they're just upset that Dina is not 100% gay, as she is in a lot of their head canons. So yeah, Dina does, leave the relationship with Ellie at some point. It's not perpetuating a stereotype against bisexuals for her to say this. It's real. It's real life. There are people who are bisexual who leave their female partner for a male partner and also the other way around. It's a thing that happens in real life. As I repeat multiple times, I'm a big fan of flooding the market with diverse stories. I don't believe that stories with female leads need to make it so that the female lead is Mary Sue-like or super X, Y, and Z. However, I also don't politicize or moralize the fact that a character might be a Mary Sue or might be, X, Y, or Z. I don't politicize bad writing when it comes to minority characters. Minority characters are allowed to be written poorly, just like any other character. They're allowed to be written masterfully, just like any other character. Their stories are allowed to be very entertaining and good. Their stories are allowed to be very boring or cringy or awkward, just like everything else. I'm a big fan of just letting writers write what they write and not over politicizing them and bogging them down with an expectation that they make a certain demographic of people feel good. So with this, I said that because with Dina, it's okay that a bisexual character leaves her gay lover for a straight lover. It's okay that that happens in a story. Not every bisexual character needs to go against stereotypes about their bisexuality. Because sometimes this happens in real life. It can happen. It's normal. You don't need to bring it, start over moralizing and creating conspiracy theories about what the motivation of the writers were. Not saying that you shouldn't think deeper about what the writers are saying or what they could be doing, their biases, and so on and so forth. But you should also consider whether or not the negative emotions you're feeling in regards to something that a story does is in result to your own personal, things you've gone through in your life or things people have said about you, or if it is just how the story is in that TV show or video game or movie. Right? So I think these controversies surrounding The Last of Us, whether they be coming from the Gamergate, anti-woke, hysteria crowd that we are being forced and held hostage to deal with as lovers of TV, movies, and games. These political opportunists on the right being emboldened by foreign actors, by bots on social media, by the algorithm and what that incentivizes concerning outrage, as well as the culture war coming from ultra-progressives who over-politicize and over-moralize and load everything with the most dramatic language and assume harm all the time from everything. Both of these groups do that. So just in short for this Dina controversy, my note here is that Dina is constantly flirting with Ellie throughout the show so far. It's very obvious. It's like being portrayed as young puppy love, confusion, bashfulness, awkwardness, push and pull between the two. It's obvious that the two of them are trying to play as if they're not into each other when they are. And Dina saying what she did was just a comment that she made. I don't think it's anything more than that. It's true to her character. Ellie reacts in a normal human way as well here. She acts with some, it's awkwardness, disappointment, irritation, and so on and so forth. It's all normal human interaction. I think it was normal human writing. I don't think there is anything abnormal about this scene, and that the controversy is completely, blown out of proportion here. So that is my review for the first 3 episodes and my discussion for the first 3 episodes of The Last of Us Part 2 in this long hour and 30-minute video. We have taken a look at the culture war surrounding The Last of Us video game. We've taken a look at the anti-woke Gamergate crowd. We've also taken a look at the new and rising anti-woke culture war crowd, the anti-Gamergate crowd, who is also over-moralizing and over-politicizing some of the narrative changes that have been made in the TV show for the purposes of adapting it for TV. We've taken a look at each episode, the things I liked, the things I disliked. If you liked this video, leave a comment down below. If you want to discuss more about the show, leave a comment down below. I always read every comment. I don't always respond, but I do always read them. I get emails for every single comment that comes in on my YouTube channel, and I check my email many times a day. So I will see your comment. So yeah, if you like this video, go ahead and like it and leave a comment down below. Thank you guys for watching.